So let's explore for a second to see what does the square root of x squared equal. Right? Well, the square root of x squared is equal to the square root of x times x. And so to break out of the square root sign, we need two factors that are the same. So we have x, and so that's going to equal to x. Right? Let's go ahead and consider x is equal to -3. Right? So let's substitute in -3. It's square root of -3 squared. What is that equal to? It's square root of -3 times -3. So we have two negative factors of -3, so we can pull it out, and we get it's equal to -3, right? So whenever you see a x squared or a variable squared, that means you could pull one of them. You can pull it out of the radical sign. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this example. We have the question is simplify the square root of 120 times a squared times b to the 5th times c to the 4th. Right? So we have constants and we have variables underneath the radical sign. So how do we do this? Well, we do them separately. You go ahead and run a prime factorization of 120. Right, and that's going to become 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 to the 3, times 3 times 5. And then we go ahead and evaluate the variables separately. Right, so we have a times a times b times b times b times b times b 5 times c times c times c times c times c 4 times. Right, so what can we pull out? Well, let me go ahead and write this differently. This is going to be the square root of 2 times 2 times 2, that's 2 to the 3, right? Times 3 times 5, times a, that's a squared, right? Times b times b times b times b times b 5 times, that's b to the 5th, times c times c times c times c, that's c to the 4th, right? And so now what can we pull out? Well, remember the rule, right? If we have two factors that are the same, we can pull them out. So we can pull out a2. We can pull out 1, 2. We can't pull out that 2, or that 3, or that 5. But we can pull out an a. We can pull out a b. We can actually pull out two b's, but not that one there, right? Just these two. And then we can pull out one c and another c, right? So let's go ahead and pull all of that out. And what do we get? We get 2 times a times b, so times b squared, times c, that's c squared. And then we have the radical sign, and what is left over? It is 2 times 3 times 5, so it's 30. And there's no a's left over. There is a b left over. And so that is our final answer. Okay. So let's go ahead and try it down here, right? So what do we do? Well, we need to run the prime factorization of 32. So what is the prime factorization of 32 is even, so I'm going to pull a 2 out. That leaves me with 16, because 32 divided by 2 is 16. 16 is even, so I'm going to pull a 2 out of that. So divide 16 by 2 is equal to 8, right? 8 is even, so I'm going to pull a 2 out of that. That leaves me with 4, right? 4's factor is 2 times 2, so times 2 times 2, okay? And we could double check, so it's 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, 16, 32. All right, now we have r squared, so we have times r, 2 times. We have k to the 4th, so that's times k times k times k times k 4 times. And then we have t to the 5th, so that's t times t times t times t times t 5 times. Now we look for our pairs, all right? So I have a pair of 2's here. I have another pair of 2's there. That one does not have a pair. I have 2 r's. I have 2 k's there and 2 k's there. I have 2 t's there, 2 t's there, and 1 left over. So what does this equal? Well, I can pull out a 2 and a 2, so it's 2 times 2. I have 1 r times r. I have 2 k's, so times k to the 2, times 2 t's, so that's times t to the 2, and then I have my square root. And what is left over? My leftover is my 2 and my t. So let's go ahead and simplify all that. It's 2 times 2 is 4. So I have 4r k to the 2 t squared times the square root of 2 times t. And so this is my simplified version of that expression there. Okay. Yep. Let's go ahead and do this last one here. So we have 56. So let's do the prime factorization of 56. That's going to be 2. So 56 divided by 2 is equal to 28. 28 is a even number, so I can take another 2 out of it. Divide that by 2 is equal to 14. 14, the factors of 14 are 7 and 2. So I say 2 times 7. Now I have my x times my y 10 times. So 10 y's, that's a little bit too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as y to the 10th. And then times z times z times z times z times z 5 times, right? So what do we have pairs of? We have a pair of 2's there. We have 5 pairs of y's there. And we have 1 pair of z's and another pair of z's there, right? So what is this going to equal? It's going to equal to 2 times y to the 5th, right? Because I have 5 pairs of y's there, times z squared, because I have 1 z there and 1 pair of z's there, of z squared, times the square root of whatever's left over. So we have 2 times 7 is 14. Got an x there and a z there. So x times z is still left under the square root sign. Let's go ahead and simplify that, write it a little cleaner. It's 2y to the 5th z squared times the square root of 14x times z. And that's my final answer.